Welcome to another episode of the DTF podcast here on the Field of 68 Media Network. My name is Rob Dawser. I have John Fanta with me. I have the lovely Terrence Oglesby with me. Fresh off of a trip to Charleston, man. You went down to our city. You checked out the Charleston Classic.
No longer our city. Is that Mac's thing?
I don't know. I was referring to the fact that I spent like 6 days down there last week.
Oh, okay.
The Field of 68 city. Let's put it like that.
I like that.
You did not run into Trilly Donovan down there. He was down at the Charleston Classic as well. So maybe T.O.
He was down there.
Is T.O. Trilly Donovan, Fanta? Is that?
You know what? I don't know. He was down there. He was in the stands, although some people think that was a decoy picture. It was to make you think that he was in the building. But he was down there. T.O. was in the building. I was in the building at one point. I wasn't far from where I was sitting. I can guarantee it's not me. It's not me, although I do think some people replied and said, oh, it must be me because I didn't really advertise that I was down there. No, it's not me. It's not T.O. And the Trilly Donovan saga. I mean, a part of me says, I know there's a sector of people out there who are like, I want to find out, da-da-da-da-da. Sometimes the best things in life are the things that go unknown and are secretive. So kind of like, like the tooth fairy, if you will, or some of the other things that are happening during the holiday season. You know who I'm talking about. It's Trilly's kind of got that mythical creature vibe, and
he does.
I'm okay with that. I am.
Hold on. The fact that never mind. I thought that he was sitting right behind me for the Charleston Classic. I was about to crap. Sorry, go ahead, Fanta. I'm sitting here looking at it right now. I'm so sorry.
He was close. He was close to you. But hey, happy Thanksgiving to all our viewers, all our listeners out there. We're thankful for you, and we are so thankful for this slate of college basketball. Another incredible Maui Invitational is ahead. Battle for Atlantis should be really good, including a tasty opener in that tournament between Indiana, are they for real, and Louisville. Can they show us a better showing than they did against Tennessee? And I tell you what, I am pumped up about this week in college basketball, guys. I think we get into the mode of, it's still relatively early. No, it's not. It's not early anymore. This week is the week that provides the most resume opportunities for the majority of high majors.
Yes.
Either you capitalize on this week or else you have a lot to do in a short window of about 2 or 3 weeks, because we always say it. And for those who haven't heard it before, as a league, these high major leagues, even by the end of this week, they have a fair to solid idea of how many bids they're going to get in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, that's the crazy part about it. And it's like, if your teams get better over the course of the year, that's all great and good, but like you need to be good now. It's been unbelievably frustrating if you're certain conferences. So because you have to win these games and you can't drop some of these nonsense games. You have to win those games too. So it's kind of frustrating, but at the same time, like if I'm some of these leagues like the SEC, my God, they are stacking wins. It is the best league in college basketball this year, Big 12 included. I don't even care. I'm just going to say it. It's the best league in college basketball this year. So much talent from top to bottom. Freaking, Vanderbilt loses in the finals of Drake, but like they look good and they were picked dead last in that league. So like it's crazy to even think about, how deep that league is, how it's going to be on a night-to-night basis with all 16 teams. Like it's going to be a fun league to watch this season.
Yeah, that's one of those ones where you kind of say, someone like Lamont Paris at South Carolina, good luck, man, because you're going to have your work cut out for you being able to finish in the top 14 of that conference based off what we've seen. There's a lot I want to get to on today's episode. Obviously, we're going to preview the Maui. We're going to preview the Battle for Atlantis. We got to talk about what happened to Creighton. We got to talk about what happened to St. John's. Sorry for the coughing in the background. Both my kids are home sick with the flu right now. We got to talk about Duke's win. We got to talk about Tennessee rolling through in the Baja Mar Classic. And obviously, we're going to go deep on Wisconsin and John Tonje and how impactful he's been as a transfer. But before we do any of that, when I sent out the text and said, what do you guys want to talk about? First thing T.O. hits me back with was Drake, the Drake Bulldogs, Ben McCollum. He has made sure that people and universities by the name of Drake haven't only taken L's. this year. T.O., talk to me about the Bulldogs. Talk to me about Drake. Talk to me about Ben McCollum.
Well, first things first, how good has Ben McCollum to be able to just go up from Division II to Division I and then go and beat an SEC school on the way to winning that tournament, Florida Atlantic, who's super talented, and then they beat Miami at the beginning of the tournament, who has as much or more talent than any team that was there in Charleston, and then just went over. So, like, you're able to look at and see what he was capable of doing. The crazier part to me, guys, is it says a few things. One, Ben McCullough can really coach. Two, he's got 4 Division II transfers in his starting lineup that followed him up from his last spot. That tells me there's dudes everywhere. And I've kind of known that for a while. There's really good players in Division II basketball as well. But the fact of the matter is, when I watched them play Florida Atlantic, they got shot after open shot after open shot after open shot. And then they played Vanderbilt. And a lot of those guys, Cam Menyao was okay at Wyoming. He was a pretty good shot blocker. He goes to freaking Drake, and he's erasing everything around the paint against an SEC team who's overperformed so far this year. So, like, to have all of these guys perform at the level that they're performing, and the fact of the matter that they're all Division II transfers, and a guy that was pretty good in the Mountain West last year, but wasn't really like elite level good, like, really stands out. And he's got Drake. Like, we look at this team now and what they have through the rest of December. They played Kansas State once. They could win that game because Kansas State still figuring it themselves out. This is a team that they're not going to go undefeated, don't get me wrong, but they're on their way to 25, 26, 27 wins this year and a berth in the NCAA tournament. If they're able to get in the NCAA tournament, I don't care who they play. Like, that's upset city. Like, the way they play, how they play together. I mean, so good. So good this week.
And what they did to kind of piggyback on the point you guys made at the Open is they've now put themselves in a position where they can get an at-large bid, right? Like, Vanderbilt's probably going to end up being a top 75-ish kind of team this year is my guess, right? Miami may not be that, but that's still going to be a quad 2 win on a neutral court. I think FAU's got a chance to be the best team in the American. I know they're sitting there at 4-4 right now, but that is a talented team in a league that has not been all that good so far this year, right? And Drake has put themselves in a
Memphis
spot
Memphis off to a good start. I didn't realize how good a start they were off to. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, we'll dive into Memphis in a little bit when we get to the Maui preview. But this Drake team, Bennett Sturts is a dog. He can play. He's
a dog. But to stick with Ben McCollum for just a moment, Ben McCollum has coached in 492 games as a head coach. 492 games. He is 43 years old. He owns 401 wins at the age of 43. In other words, if he keeps doing this at this level, first off, I hope he stays. For the Drake fans, I hope he stays the longest time possible. But I'd be lying to you right now if I said there weren't ADs across the country who took notice this weekend of what Ben McCollum and Drake just did and are looking at this guy saying he's 43, he's a hard worker. He brought D2 kids with him. Player evaluations are so important. And the fact that this guy was able to take, 4 guys, Bennett Sturts, Daniel Abreu, Mitch Muscari, Isaiah Jackson, with him to Drake, from his previous stop, Northwest Missouri State, which is a good program. You might remember Ryan Hawkins came out of there, transferred into Creighton, ended up playing a big role. There have been others. And to play the way that they just did, T.O.'s right. They ran their stuff with ease. Their actions, they ran the best stuff in Charleston, and it's easy to see why they won the title. But I think they're running some of the best stuff in all of college basketball. They're really difficult to defend. And they never stop moving without the basketball. So you're right, T.O. They're going to be a nightmare for somebody to play in the NCAA tournament. And, they're going to be a trendy team, because I think they'll make it, because I like the veteran star power. He brought in a Wyoming transfer, Cam Menyao, who I thought played really well last night, and, is a guy that not making threes, but at 6'8", getting on the glass and just
dude protects the rim, man. Like, he protects the rim.
He's an elite defender, and he shot 8 for 11 last night. The other thing is this. Think about this. Bennett Sturtz, I agree with you, Rob. He is a dog. And last night, he went 5 for 14. He didn't make a three, but he still impacted the game in other ways. You know you're a really good basketball team in November when you scored 81 points against an SEC team and you only made 5 threes in the game. That's when you know your offense is humming, when you're not being over-reliant on the three-point line. But, they're so fundamentally sound. They're not deep. They go 6 deep. Tavion Banks played 21 minutes. After that, Nate Ferguson played 8. He might not even played if the game was closer. But they shot 18 of 20 from the free throw line. So we're all in on the Bulldogs. They're the best mid-major story in college basketball. And, they're getting ranked by some. I don't know if they'll be in the AP top 25. I can guarantee you this. Their next game at 6-0 is against Georgia Southern. And provided that they take care of business in that one, there's no doubt they're in my top 25, and they're going to be in many others, and they're deserving of it. Their body of work speaks for itself. But you're right. Sturtz is a high major player playing at Drake. He does so many things right. He can make for his teammates. He knows how to make winning plays happen. So this is a really great story. It's what college hoops is about, and it does go to show you. You can have somebody text me this from a really good program last night. And I'm going to read you guys the text, and I'm long-winded here. The text isn't long, but I want to read this text to you. A big NIL budget is like a big you-know-what. Doesn't mean shit if you don't know how to use it.
That's a good line.
A coach from a high major program sent that to me last night, and one of the best programs in America.
I have a guess on who that is. I think I'm right on who it is. I'll say it when we're off the air. I don't want to guess when we're on the air.
It's a pretty easy one.
Yeah.
If it's who I think it is.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to let you guys decide where we go next here, because I think for me, the two programs that stood out more than anybody else this week were Tennessee and Wisconsin. And the through line for both of them is that they have each one of the best transfers in America that I don't think came into the season with the hype of being one of the best transfers in America. So, TL, we'll go to you. Do you want to talk about your Tennessee Volunteers? Good old Rocket Top. Are we talking about Buckyball, the Badgers, the original Buckyball?
Let's go Badgers first, because they're fresh on my mind. So Tonje, what he's been able to do has invigorated that offense, and they're playing open and free and fast, and they're getting into the paint. That was a fun game to watch yesterday whenever they beat Pitt. And even though Pitt lost, Pitt's good. I think that goes without saying. And damn it, if it ain't for Wisconsin. Like, beginning of the year, I think I picked them 11th, 12th or something in the Big Ten. And I just wrote a note beside that, and I said, they'll finish better than this, and we don't know why, but they will. And sure as shit, here Wisconsin is again, has a really, really good team, and they just grinded it out last night. And by the way, watched the game last night. Matt McCall's really good at doing games. The more I watched, the more I enjoyed watching Matt McCall call a game. So really good. Congratulations to him. Got to play a lot of golf up there at the Greenbrier. But you look at what Wisconsin's been able to do, 7-0. That Pitt game, they win Arizona at home. They played Pitt yesterday on a neutral floor and win. My gosh, guys, like, what a fun team to watch. And typically you see Wisconsin, you're like, how's their offense going to be? Are they going to have to slow it down to a crawl?
That ain't what we're asking this year, T.O.
That's not what they're asking.
Are they going to actually be able to get stops?
Yeah, John Tonje is a freaking dude. And they had some other guys play well. John Blackwell was good. Some of these different players were just – it seems like they have different guys step up all the time. But I think Wisconsin's going to be a load to handle this year.
Let me just, before you go, Fanda, I just want to piggyback on something, T.O., because if there is a concern for me with this Wisconsin team, and I don't even know if this is something that I'm actually worried about, and maybe I'm just overthinking it, but it feels like so much of what they do is, let's get the ball to Tonje. He's going to put his head down. He's going to get to the line. He's going to draw a foul, and he's going to shoot free throws. And I just wonder if that's something that is consistently sustainable at the level that he wants to be able. Like, are you going to be able to win games by building your offense around John Tonje free throws. Does that make sense? That's the one thing that I'm kind of looking at it like, well, that might be a concern long term.
If you get there, you get there, especially at home where people are very willing to give Wisconsin the whistle at their place. So I think they're really good, man. I'll never frown on a guy for being physical and getting downhill and then forcing officials to make a call.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Watching that game last night, the way that Wisconsin executed their offense in the final 10 minutes of the game against a Pitt team that entered number 11 in KenPom defense was really extraordinary to watch. Now, Damian Dunn exited the game just 2 minutes in. Tough for Pitt to lose him in this game because Dunn makes a difference defensively.
He had an ankle injury and a hand injury on the same play. That's tough, man. That's tough.
And they missed his toughness. They missed his ability to guard. I thought, to T.O.'s point, Pitt played very well. Wisconsin was just better. And that speaks to Wisconsin. A couple things. Number one, John Blackwell. He had 14 points, but it felt like 14 big ones. Down the stretch, I thought he made some really key plays. This was a night where Max Klesmit did not shoot the ball well at all. He was 1 for 7. But John Tonje, right now, is one of the best players in college basketball. And he would be up for National Player of the Month if we gave that out. Because he's got 2 30-plus point games, and they've come against Arizona, 41, and they've come against Pittsburgh in a championship game of an MTE. When you score, these matters, and he's come up huge. Kamari McGee steps in off the bench, delivered for Wisconsin. He's taken a leap. This is a guy who was a non-factor really last year, averaged a bucket a game, and now he's averaging closer to 8 points a game. Last night he had 10. And I thought he could have transferred, Kamari McGee. He really could have. Nothing was stopping him from transferring, and he didn't. And he's helping this team right now off the bench, a bench that doesn't have a ton of firepower, but McGee's giving them that. And Stephen Crowell, if nothing else, he's a really good rebounder and he's physical. So they have a nice mesh, but offensively, they've got veteran players who know their strengths. And with Tonje, I agree. We didn't talk about him as this marquee transfer, but the guy has played 6 years of college basketball, and he's played, for a Colorado State program that won a lot of games. Nico Medved does a great job. He goes to Missouri. Obviously, it does not work out. But now at Wisconsin, Greg Gard entered this year with pressure on him to win some ball games. But he does a very good job of scheming for his best player or two. He did this with Johnny Davis. He does a very good job of scheming for his go-to guy to get the ball downhill in an advantageous spot. And Wisconsin, until somebody in the Big Ten figures it out, and the Big Ten's a tough league, there will be coaches who figure some things out. It is. It's a tough league. In fact, Wisconsin's Big Ten opener is going to come against Michigan, and then they're going to Marquette. So the tests don't stop. When they go to Marquette, that's one of the best games of the season in college basketball today. But they've got a great setup with Tonje. They can play through Blackwell a little bit. When Klesmit's hitting threes, they're a really tough out. Credit to them. They're as big a surprise in the sport as any, because I thought, to T.O.'s point, they finished like 8th or 9th in the Big Ten. They could win the Big Ten.
The biggest thing that I take away when thinking about this Wisconsin team, especially that game last night, is that Pitt is a really good, really tough, really physical defensive team. And for about the last 25 minutes, Wisconsin did whatever they wanted offensively.
Yes.
It felt like if Pitt got a stop, it was because Wisconsin missed the shot that they wanted to make. And then half the time they ended up getting the loose ball or getting the offensive rebound. I was really, really blown away with how good and how impactful they were offensively on a team where, like, you just look at this roster and you're not sitting there and saying, T.O., holy smokes, they have nothing but offensive weapons on this roster. I think you would probably make the argument that Pitt has, if you were drafting like the best offensive players on a team, you would probably take the Pitt guys over the Wisconsin guys.
I agree with that. However, you said we don't do a team of the month or an All-American team of the month. Why aren't we doing that with Field 68? That's a good idea.
Yeah, let's do it. That's a great call. Fanta,
That's a good idea. Fanta, good call. We should be doing that for first team All-American November. I think that's a good one. I think John Tonje needs to be on that list. He's been awesome.
without a doubt. I think there's there are some guys. Janai Broom is one of them. I think Cooper Flagg is one of them. There are guys that are probably in the mix with him, but he is right there in terms of national.
Well, I mean, doing what he did to Arizona in a big game, doing what he did to Pitt in the finals of the Greenbrier.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, shoo, buddy.
All right, listen, we're going to talk about the Vols in a second before a quick message from one of our sponsors. If you haven't heard by now, we have partnered with BetMGM for the season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code FIELD. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Go download the BetMGM app and use the code FIELD today. Fanta, the Vols, Chaz Lanier, he's been awesome. Mm-hmm. Tennessee went down to the Bahamas, to the Baha Mar, and they beat Virginia by 22 and held them to 42 points. Then they beat Baylor by 17.
Oh, how could they hold Virginia to 42 points?
Yeah, no, impressive, right? But the Baylor win was impressive to me, even if it was on a night where, it was right after Baylor ended up playing like a double overtime absolute thriller. And we'll talk about Baylor in a second, just if you're worried about them. But Chaz Lanier's been awesome. Tennessee's been awesome. I don't know why I'm surprised anymore with these guys.
I will take the victory lap on this because I told you before the season on this show multiple times that I would not doubt in Tennessee's ability to contend for an SEC championship, even in a loaded SEC. What Rick Barnes has done is he has maintained his defensive DNA with his teams while getting the portal has been a benefit to Rick Barnes while finding a bucket getter he can play through. Remind you of anybody? Wisconsin? Like, there's some similarities here to how these coaches are getting it done. In the win over Baylor, Tennessee converts on 12 threes. T.O., if the Tennessee Volunteers hit 12 threes in a game against anybody, are they losing to anyone?
No. I think the magic number for Tennessee, they hit 8, you're in trouble.
That's it. And I thought that in the game against Baylor, Baylor was worn down defensively. No question about that. From the night previous, but Zakai Ziegler shot 2 for 7 in this game but he had 9 assists. And look, Lanier's a big reason for that, but Ziegler didn't score at all, really. And they beat Baylor. They beat the brakes off them, beat them by 15. They've got a team that actually has some depth as well. Like, Jordan Gainey continues to give this Tennessee team some bursts off the bench. And when you can do that, again, on a team that's always going to guard, they guard at the level that a Houston does every single year. They're right there in the analytics. And then you throw in Cade Phillips, a sophomore.
He's been good.
Who's been good for this team. An X factor as a sixth man. And, the shooting piece. I think when Tennessee was going through, remember a couple of years ago, they're going through some droughts. They can't win in the tournament. We're talking about how they can't win in the tournament. And I think that they have figured out, whether it be Dalton Connect or Chaz Lanier, what it takes to sort of get it all to click. And right now they're clicking. And, it might be a hot take. I don't care if it is. But Tennessee, I believe right now, is the best team in the Southeastern Conference. I do believe that they're the best team. I know that people would argue out with me on that because of what Auburn did against Houston, and I need to see more from Auburn. And the reason why I say that is because Tahad Pettiford had an out-of-body experience shot-making wise. Maui soft rim should help Pettiford, should help Kelly, and should help Miles. But there's still some concern with me in terms of their ability to shoot the way that they did against Houston all throughout the week at Maui. Whereas Tennessee, I've now seen them do it against multiple high major opponents on the road. They've beaten 3 high major teams all away from Knoxville.
Yeah, and in those 3 games, Chaz Lanier is averaging over 23 points a game, and he's shooting over 50% from 3 in those 3 games. He's had his 3 best games against Tennessee's 3 best opponents. And T.O., I remember when we did the Tennessee preview, I said, I'm a little worried about Rick Barnes recruiting a team where it feels like he's got too many finesse guys and not enough like big, physical, old defensive menaces. And I don't know if they're going to be able to be who they are while also being this finesse kind of shooting team. Well, that was really dumb. That was a really dumb thing for me to say. And I got that one really wrong because they're great defensively. And now all of a sudden can put like 3 or 4 shooters on the floor at the same time, and they're spaced and they're spread out, and they haven't lost. They're number 2 in the country in defense on Ken Pop. It's just, it's incredibly. And here's the thing that's most impressive to me. When Rick Barnes left Texas, when he lost the job at Texas, and he got the job at Tennessee, I remember the narrative was kind of like, well, why would Tennessee want this retread? He wasn't interested when he was at Texas. He lost the fire. He lost the enthusiasm. It kind of felt a little bit like Calipari going from Kentucky to Arkansas, that same kind of vibe where it was like, well, this is just, he's getting his retirement paycheck, basically. Well, turns out he's turned Tennessee into an absolute juggernaut.
Yes, year in, year out too. And it's, you recruit offense, you coach defense, and I think you recruit offense, but you also recruit bodies that can play defense. So you look at Chaz Lanier, really big across the shoulders, 6'5", 210, strong. Look at Igor Milicic, 6'10", 230-ish, strong. Wasn't the most physical guy at Charlotte, didn't really matter. You go to Tennessee, you're physical by proxy because that's how they're all going to play. Zakai Ziegler, though, the fact that he is playing as well as he is at 5'9" and being kind of the focal point is kind of nuts because he's creating all these shots for some of these other players. I do think there's going to be a correction a little bit with Chaz Lanier. You're not going to shoot 55% from 3 all season long. So it's just not going to happen. Like, I love the kid. I think he's good. That's not going to happen. So there's going to be a bit of a correction. But the fact of the matter is, when you have so many other shooters on the floor at one time, that hasn't always been the case. Whenever they played Julian Phillips, who struggled with his 3, whenever they played some of these other guys at the 3-4 that couldn't shoot, it made it difficult for them to run a lot of offense. Now they're able to put 3 and 4 shooters on the floor and be physical defensively. So is Tennessee the best team in the SEC right now? I would still venture to say Auburn because I just put so much on that Houston win in Houston, in the city of Houston. So that's kind of where I differ from Fanta. But that all being said, Auburn has a massive test today, Iowa State. They win that one. I don't think there's much of a choice but to say that, Auburn, Auburn's the best team in the SEC. Great chance for them. I had Tennessee at 3rd behind Alabama and Kentucky. I still feel like Tennessee's very much in that top mix coming into the year. You still kind of wonder where is the offense going to maintain? Is it going to keep going? Because they put such an emphasis every single possession on the defensive end of the floor. It's really hard to play like that the entire 40 minutes of a game. I think he can continue. I think they're that good. Tennessee's really good. Chaz Lanier isn't doing Dalton Connect things. He's been a little bit more patient because the ball's moved and he's found opportunities. But like, the fact of the matter is, with Jordan Gainey playing better, with Cade Phillips stepping up into a bigger role, like I like the way this team's put together, and defensively we know what they're going to be.
Yep. All right. So I made a list of the top transfers based on what they've actually done this season, not the list, the preseason list that was put out, based on what they've actually done. And I think there's a top 3 clear cut, and there's nobody else that's really in this conversation. For me, it's John Tonje, Chaz Lanier, and JT Toppin at Texas Tech. Is there anybody outside of those 3 that I missed that you think are in that conversation? Because I went down the list. Norchad's been good, but there's questions about him defensively.
Norchad hasn't been good. I don't care.
He's averaging 16 to 10, but he's had
Don't care.
Don't
care. There's a lot of good players averaging 15 points a game that hurt their team more than they help them.
Yep. I had Ryan Conwell on that list, but I think he's a step down from those other 3. Miles Rice has been really good. Kobe Sanders at Nevada has been better than anybody will realize. Paulus Morauskas at St. Mary's has been really good. A couple surprising ones to me. Elijah Martin and Ado Thoreau have both been better than Janelle Davis, who everybody had as like a top 3 transfer in the class. PJ Haggerty's been really good, but for me, it's that top 3: John Tonje, JT Toppin, and Chaz Lanier.
Don't you have to throw somebody from Kentucky in the mix just because?
Well, but they haven't really been consistent. Like you look at Andrew Carr's numbers, it's not like he's been consistent, but he came up big in the game.
Yeah.
I mean,
Otega
always been great. Otega deserves.
There's like 5 guys at Kentucky that
Yeah.
belong in that conversation, which is what makes it hard to pick like just one. And that's why Kentucky's as good as they are.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, the names you just brought up. Like I'm trying to find
Lamont Butler.
Lamont Butler, of course. I'm trying to find, somebody else that would fit. And you look at the top teams in the country. Kansas's transfers haven't really panned out. All right, UConn, have not panned out to the degree. I mean, Terrace Reed's been fine. Mahaney, that's a very
well. Here, let me just kind of roll through the top 10.
Gonzaga didn't. It's not like Gonzaga, but Tennessee, yes, absolutely. Tennessee.
PJ Haggerty, Memphis,
and Rob brought him up.
Sorry.
PJ Haggerty deserves credit. 1,000%. Yep.
Here was our top 10 heading into the season: Janelle Davis, Cliff Amori, Kadari Richmond, AJ Storr, Norchad O'Meara, Umar Ballo, Coleman Hawkins, Jackson Robinson, Pop Isaacs, Great Osibor. They've all been fine.
No,
they haven't been
some of them have been bad.
Some of them have been bad, yes. But they haven't been anywhere near as good as the top 3 that I mentioned. So it's hard. It's hard with these transfers, man, to see who's going to fit, who's going to connect well with the team that they're going to be.
You can look at a shiny object in a store and think the glasses are off and think that it is the greatest thing ever. And then you bring it home and it operates like crap. So my wife bought these. She bought these candy canes that are apparently solar powered, or so I've heard. My dad taught me on plug the light in. Plug the damn light in. Okay? Christmas Story. Old-fashioned. Christmas Story is based out of Cleveland, the movie. Lights are meant to be plugged in. Enough with this solar power crap. Sorry if I'm offending folks but with that. But here's the thing. She gets these solar-powered candy canes out on the front walk. I'm putting these things in. Well, she's putting them in, and I'm trying to help, and she's telling me I'm wrong in how I'm setting them up, of course. I don't know how. I'm not a handyman. I try. And I'm looking at them, and when you look at something, you're like, this is not what was in the display case. This was not what was in the display case. Then a week goes by, they don't work. The solar-powered lights are not working. She goes, well, I'm going to take them back. I'm going to send them back. Here's the deal. There ain't a return policy on transfers. There's no return policy. Now, it doesn't mean the kids can't perform, but how many times have we heard it? NIL or not, Terrence and Rob, you hear a coach say, and you know who I've heard it more from this year? I've heard it more from trainers. The athletic trainers behind the scenes. And I asked them, how's this kid or how's that new kid to work with? And they go, yeah, you find out in the preseason and in season that there's a reason why they ended up transferring. And there's a reason for it. And it's not to say kids can't transfer. Every kid's allowed to transfer. But we do talk a lot about the transfer portal in the offseason because it's sexy and it creates viewership. And I'm not saying we should change anything. But when you look at some of the best teams in the country too, look at a Marquette right now. They are the anti-transfer. They are the roster continuity to a T. And the teams that have roster continuity, Terrence, are the ones who are winning.
Yep, 100%. And look, hey, Rob's back. That was quick. Yeah, I think that's a big key, but I think there's always exceptions to the rule. I mean, obviously, but I don't know. It's tough. It's really, really tough. I think the one thing that you can take away, if the best 3 players are returning, those transfers are going to have to fit around where they're going to have to fit in.
Right. And if your best players are returning, so for instance, even though some of their best players returned, but others did not. They lost a lot.
I'm just thinking Kansas. Like you come to Kansas, you're fitting around Hunter Dickinson.
Yes. But this is a great point by you, because if you're a Kansas or a UConn and you bring in people from the portal, The reason why we put Kansas preseason 1 is we knew who was coming back. Then the gravy. Kansas right now, let's just say that they were okay in the portal. They'd still be in all our top 3 or 4 because of how many people they brought back.
Yeah.
They went to 1 because they crushed it in the portal. But we were confident in them being 1 because we weren't over-relying on their portal pieces to get it done. And neither is Kansas. Same can be said with UConn. You know, Aiden Mahaney was an awesome pickup in the then. Thus far, it has not been good.
Right.
You know, he would tell you he hasn't been good. But Connecticut was never going to be solely reliant on Aiden Mahaney to win games this year. They've been more reliant on, guess what? 2 words: player development. And you're going to see that development later today when Jaden Ross and Solo Ball get on the floor for UConn.
Yep, you're right.
I'm excited to see UConn play a Division I team.
This afternoon, man, 2:30. Here we go from Hawaii.
Peace week. We're in.
We got a
Danny
Maui preview. We got an Atlantis preview coming up. We also got to talk about some of the notable results from the last 4 or 5 days right after this. Season is in full swing. You need to make sure that you have access to the best betting tool on the market, the Rhythm app. Spelled RITHMN, is a data-backed app that uses AI and analytics to identify inefficiencies in betting lines and the player prop market that will allow you, the user, to profit. You can create customized, analytics-driven betting models tailored to your personal preferences as a bettor. Users have access to up-to-the-second against the spread data. And if you're like me and you understand pictures better than numbers on a screen, Rhythm's internal trend analysis provides you with the kind of graphs that will allow you to evaluate past results and project future performance in a visual way. Every Division I college basketball team is included in the Rhythm's metrics. Free subscribers to the Field of 68 Daily will get 25% off for a Rhythm subscription. Use the QR code on the screen to sign up or download at the link in the description. And
that commercial is so funny to me, Rob, because you're just like, if you don't like words and you just like pictures like me.
It's true. There's a lot of reading involved in some of these things. And just, seeing a graph and saying, hey, this one versus this one, this is higher. Look over here. This makes life easier.
Gotcha.
All right. I'm going to do a quick whip around of some notable results from the last week. We got to start Duke at Arizona. Tio, I'm going to go to you first on this one. I was incredibly impressed with Duke, mostly because of what they can do on the defensive side of the ball. They really get after you. They make life miserable. I think you called this out in the preseason in terms of what they can be, the ball pressure, the switchability, the versatility, the way that they have guys that can funnel everything to Malawach, or they can switch everything if you want to put Malik Brown in there. Going on the road with a team where your focal point is 17 years old and winning at Arizona in front of 15,000 people in a game where they pretty much controlled it the whole way was super impressive. I'm a little concerned with the fact that so much of what they do offensively seems to end with an isolation for Cooper or Konkanippel that results in like a tough 2-point shot. But I think that those are things that can be worked on and developed throughout the year. And my guess is that Shire spent a lot more time working on defense in the preseason than installing all of these intricate sets for offensively.
They've never run anything all that intricate. And when you have the best players on the floor, you shouldn't. You should give it to your best players and then let them create something, because that's what you're trying to set some of these lesser players up for anyway. Whenever you run these elaborate offenses, you try to get guys in position. But if you have somebody that can create advantages without all those complicated sets, it works for everybody. So that's one thing why I like the shot distribution a little bit better. Obviously, Cooper's going to shoot 20 shots. That's going to happen because he's being put in that position to do so. Konkanippel getting 11 shots, 3 of 6 from 3. Looks like he was more selective in how he was doing it. Tyrese Proctor, guys, I don't know what to think anymore. Like we were just kind of waiting. We just anticipated greatness, and is he going to be able to be that guy consistently? I don't know at this point. But I mean, defensively, that's where
I don't think he needs to be, just for what it's worth. Like, I thought he
I
was
just wanted to
actually
be efficient, Rob. I just wanted to be efficient.
Wow.
Mhm.
I just wanted to be efficient at this point. Like, I'm not asking for much. Like 3 of 11, 2 of 7 from 3. I just wanted to be efficient. I'm waiting for that. What they can do, they're 8 deep. They don't play more than 8. And really, they only play 7 because Mason Gillis only played 7 minutes. And that's been kind of their thing all year. So it's not like they don't have more. They just don't play more. That's 8. That's who they're going with. They know better. But defensively is where your eyebrows raise. And even against Arizona, who I think is fine. I don't know what the top end for Arizona really is. But to go there and win in Tucson is huge. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm just waiting for either Proctor or Foster to turn into that guy. They need one of those two guys to be really good.
So I disagree.
Yeah.
I don't think that either one of them has to be really good, because I think they have the best player on the floor every single time that they step on it.
Yep.
And Cooper Flag, I'm running out of superlatives, and it's November. The feel, versatility, length, and explosiveness are all combined into one beautiful prospect. He just has such a knack for understanding how to make the right play at the right time. And the way that he can now stop off the dribble from 15 feet out or 12 feet out and knock down that shot makes him so difficult to stop. He has worked on his shot. It's very clear. And he's worked on ways that he can shoot out of the dribble. The three-point shot in this game, he knocks down 2 of them. One of them was a big one in the second half. But I think for Duke, they're so damn good defensively, guys. This could be the best team in the country on the defensive end of the floor. Right now, they're number 1 in KenPom. So they are analytically, they are the best. And Common Malawach, when he's in, we already knew he was going to make a difference, but he only plays 16 minutes in this game. And I do get concerned about Malawach from an injury standpoint. I do get concerned about his durability throughout the season, because now a couple times this year, whether it's been foul trouble or he gets banged up, he's missed some time in games. But the revelation for me Friday night was Malik Brown. Malik Brown played his tail off defensively. That guy was a bully inside. He only made 1 shot. They don't need him to shoot. They need him to guard. And he guarded. He really did. He guarded at a high level. Konkanippel hasn't had that nuclear shooting performance. I guarantee you on one Monday, we're going to say, oh my God, Konkanippel couldn't miss. This team's the best on the planet. We're going to talk like that. I think they absolutely can beat Kansas tomorrow night. And
I think they can as well.
I might very well pick them, but I don't think they're – look at it this way. Proctor and Foster shot a combined 5 for 17 against Arizona, and Duke won the game handily. They won the game easily on the road in Tucson.
Yeah. One last note on Cooper Flag. I agree with everything you just said, Fandom. One last note on Cooper Flag. He leads the team in minutes, in points, in rebounds, in assists, in steals, in blocks, and he doesn't turn 18 for another 4 weeks. That's insane.
When's his birthday?
December 21st.
Wow.
So he is the reason why he reclassified, because he was born December 21st. If he ended up being born 2 weeks later, then he wouldn't be playing college basketball right now. He'd be too young for the 2025 NBA draft. So he wouldn't be playing college basketball.
That's scary.
Nebraska
Scary.
goes into Creighton, puts together one of the most impressive defensive game plans and defensive executions I think I've ever seen. Holds Ryan Kalkbrenner to a single field goal attempt, which was a 3-pointer, and beats the Creighton Blue Jays in Omaha. Really, really, really impressive win. A little bit of a concerning loss for Creighton, made worse because Stephen Ashworth looks like he's going to be out for a while with an ankle injury. Fanta, how concerned are you about Creighton?
Well, I'm concerned when it comes to them being a top 15 team. That looks like it's going to be in some tough waters here for a little while. Am I concerned about them in their ability to, hear their name called and make the NCAA tournament? I'm not even remotely concerned about that because Greg McDermott just keeps showing us year in and year out. He understands how to get a team groomed for March. He's made 3 of the last 4 Sweet 16s. I don't think that this is a team that's going to be in danger at all unless Ashworth is out for over a month and they go on a terrible losing streak. But was Kalkbrenner's mono year last year?
No, that was 2 years ago. That was 22-23.
Remember 2 years ago when they lost 6 in a row, 5 or 6 in a row, and we wrote them off, and then they just kept winning and winning and winning, and they make the NCAA tournament. So I'm not worried about them. I think that Fred Hoiberg just has Greg McDermott's number. The last 2 times they've been in Omaha, he's put together terrific defensive game plans. Creighton also has a pretty manageable draw. Like for losing Ashworth, they're going to play a San Diego State team that appears to be down compared to other years. Like I don't know how good of a team that is. That's a very important game tomorrow out in Vegas in the Players Era Festival, the opener there. And then Creighton gets Texas A&M. So like they kind of got a favor done. The Oregon game got taken off their schedule. They don't have to play Alabama or Houston in the first 2 games of this event. Like it's not, I'm just saying it's not deathly for Creighton. I'm not overly concerned about them big picture, even though Ashworth is hurt. I'll be concerned if they lose to San Diego State like that. If they lose tomorrow to San Diego State, you will get a red alert from me.
I think that they could for 2 reasons. One, I'm really into the idea that this physical defense from San Diego State is going to make it impossible to get the ball into Ryan Kalkbrenner in the post, especially when you consider the fact that do they have a point guard? If Ashworth isn't out there, like who's going to be running offense to try to get him into the situation? I just think that when you lose your point guard and then you have to go play this San Diego State team that guards the way that they guard, like that's a difficult thing to do, to get ready for in a span of like 5 days.
Yeah, that's true. The most concerning thing is like for me, and you might have already said this or not, but like when it comes to you can't win games with your best player only having 1 shot attempt.
Yes, that's the more concerning part. Yes.
That's the most concerning. Like you can't have the games. Like he needs to touch the ball. And credit Nebraska. Like they fully fronted and they had somebody behind him at all times. And they're just like, you know what? If you guys are going to beat us, it's going to be somebody else. The fact that somebody else couldn't beat you is worrisome. Now, Nebraska's got some guys back from last year's team, sure, but like this is a game that Creighton should have won. So if you're going to go down, you go down with your best player.
Yep.
The one thing I'm
kind of speaking out of both sides of my mouth though, because LaMelo.
I know. The one thing I would just
about it is Nebraska, 1, held Kalkbrenner to 1 shot, and 2, anytime these upsets happen, like I feel like I'm harping on it on this show, but I mean it when I say like what's impressive to me is, they didn't get great guard play in the game. Juwan Gary played well, but Worcester and Williams shot a combined 8 for 23 and didn't make a 3 in the game. So it was an elite defensive performance. If I had a concern meter for Creighton right now, it'd be set at a 5 out of 10. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with them too. Like it's tough matchup, smart game plan against a veteran team in Nebraska. I actually think Nebraska is better than people realize.
Yes, they are. And
Juwan Gary, Bryce Williams are back. Raleigh Worcester was really good at Utah last year. They get in Berke Buchenchel, who I know Mick Cronin liked. He wasn't the right fit at UCLA or for Mick Cronin program, but I know Cronin liked him. And Connor Essegian, the guy that was left out at Wisconsin, he's still a pretty good player. People forget that dude averaged like 12 a game as a freshman in the Big Ten. So he's not a bad player. 2 other games I want to hit to real quick. Fan, I'm going to go to you first. You worried about St. John's? They lose the overtime thriller to Baylor. I don't think there's any shame in that. Credit to the St. John's fans for giving Zuby Ejiofor a standing ovation. The next night, you got him out of his slump. You got him out of his head. Missing those 2 free throws is the kind of thing that can like torpedo somebody's confidence, and they fixed that for him. He was 11 for 12 from the line against Georgia, but St. John's also lost to Georgia. They were 2 for 19 from 3. Got 20-something offensive rebounds, forced 20-something turnovers, and still lost.
Hey, Georgia's freaking good.
Yeah. Are you, Finn, are you concerned about St. John's? And then T.O., I want your thoughts on Rutgers losing at Kennesaw State.
Okay. So St. John's, they can never make it easy on themselves. They can never make it easy on themselves. Had they beaten Baylor, they're up by 5 with less than 10 seconds to go, and they lose the game. If they win that game and then lose to Georgia, we're like, you know what? Unfortunate, but the win over Baylor kind of outweighs everything. And let's just say they lost to Tennessee by 12 or whatever. We really wouldn't be talking about them, I don't think, on this show.
You win that Baylor game and then you lose to Tennessee. It doesn't matter because you're out. We played double overtime. We were gassed. We had no legs. We are in the Bahamas. It is what it is. You have an out for that.
Here's the problem for St. John's. This performance, to me, I appreciate any and all pushback, but this is just my take on this team. That's the difference between getting like a 5 seed in the tournament and then being involved in like an 8-9, 7-10, or being an 11 seed in the tournament. I think this is a tournament team. The analytics seem to agree. I mean, I've never seen a 5-2 team that doesn't have any win of major quality be 14th in KenPom. That's pretty unique to me. Here's the problem. There's no more non-conference opportunities for them. They have 4 games left. They're against Harvard, on campus against Kansas State, who I don't think is good. And I just don't. I'm out on them. I'm not buying that train.
Yep.
Bryant and Delaware. So your non-conference is over. It's like if you lost any of those games, now we're talking about missing the NCAA tournament. They're 5-2. I think they'll be 9-2 through their non-conference season. And I think they're going to go into the league. They're going to go in the Big East. And bare minimum for me, like but they're good enough to do this. They're going to have to win double-digit amount of Big East games. They're going to have to go, at least 11-9. They're going to have to get to the 20-win threshold, 21, maybe 22 wins. And if they can beat any collection of UConn, Marquette, or Creighton or Xavier, then they're going to be in solid shape to get a bid. But I think when we're talking about St. John's, we're thinking about them as a 4 or 5 seed or a 6 seed in the NCAA tournament. Right now, those days are over. They're going to have to make serious hay in the Big East. One thing I will say about the Big East, as much as the weekend did not go well for this league, is if you look at KenPom and you look at the analytics, there's nobody that's severely bringing this league down like last year. Last year, they had 2 teams that were so historically bad that it affected the metrics negatively, T.O., when you lost to them.
Yeah.
And right
Trust
now,
me, I know that gambit.
You know that gambit. Right now, the Big East.
Why, T.O.? What are you referring to there?
Yeah, right. I know what he's referring to, but the lowest KenPom team in the Big East is 111, and that's Georgetown. DePaul alert quickly. They're 109 in KenPom. When was the last time DePaul was in the top 100 in KenPom?
Do you know the answer, or are you going to make me go look it up?
I don't know. I'm going to make you look it up.
All right, T.O., give me your thoughts on real quick on St. John's. I'm a little bit worried about the fact that they are playing 2 point guards together, and they have as much issue as they do scoring offensively in the half court. Against Georgia, they got 31 points off of turnovers and second chance points, and they scored 60. What was it? 63 in the game. Like if you have 2 point guards, you should not have that much trouble offensively. I think that's the floor spacing issues that you see right there. I'm going to go find this answer on DePaul. T.O., give me your thoughts on Rutgers losing at Kennesaw State.
DePaul shoots 41% from 3. That's the only thing we need to know.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to be able to continue shooting that well.
How about that from you?
Yeah.
All right,
Rutgers. You want to talk about shooting yourself in the foot in the non-conference, going down to play at Kennesaw State, and you thought it was going to be sweet? Like you can get players at Kennesaw State, and Kennesaw State had some athletes. There were some show-stopping dunks in that contest. When you bring 2 freshmen down there, one of which had a real growing experience yesterday. Ace Bailey towards the end of that game. That cross-court pass, you got 5 seconds to go. I don't know what – guys are loading up there. It's time for you to use your athleticism, get downhill, and learn from this. The problem is they learn from it in a game on the road to where I'm not really sure that it's going to bode well for you come tournament selection time. That one's worried. That one's worrisome for me.
So they got out rebounded in this game. At one point, it was 45-24 on the glass to Kennesaw State.
Hey man, Kennesaw State, you can recruit there. Like they've got guys. They've got guys. I'm telling you.
You can, but you can. And I don't want to take away from that win yesterday for Kennesaw State. And you give a lot of credit to Antoine Petway.
What a name.
Yes. And he, Amir Abdur-Rahim was smiling in heaven yesterday watching that game and watching his school do that. And it's a magical win for Kennesaw State. They understood the assignment. They defended their asses off, and they got open looks. And they won this game, and they deserved to win this game. For Rutgers, I'm not the least bit surprised by this. Seeing them in the preseason, it was very apparent that when you take a transfer from Monroe College, Emmanuel Ogbole, and you're going to count on him to be your 5-man, they got out rebounded 46-27 when it was all said and done. Well-embedded moles tell me that when they went to go pay for a center, the funds weren't there. They allocated the money that they had to these two marquee freshmen. Do I blame them? Not at all. I don't blame anybody for recruiting the way that they recruited. But they didn't have the money to keep Cliff Amori, and they certainly didn't have it to go out and get somebody else that was a major player. They have a big problem. They have a big problem at center. And when you have a big problem at center, T.O., and you don't have great shooting, you're going to be in for some tough nights. And this team now faces a must-win tomorrow. They face a must-win. They're going to face Notre Dame in a game where think about this for Notre Dame and Rutgers, Rob. Think about this for a moment. They're going to play Notre Dame at 10:30 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow night, and all that travel. I don't know whose idea it was, but if you're Rutgers, you play. I get playing the game, but Terrence, they flew from Georgia last night to get into Vegas. If I'm a player right now, my clock is all over the frickin' place, and now I'm playing Notre Dame at 10:30 p.m. Eastern time. Eastern time. These guys don't play that late. Very rarely. Notre Dame and Rutgers, they're never playing that late at night in their internal clock. Rutgers can lose that game. And somebody said to me last night, I was on the phone with somebody, and they go, well, Notre Dame lost to Elon. It doesn't matter. Who cares? If anything, that helps Notre Dame. They're going to go to Vegas and be hungry to play better and execute their game plan. When you have freshmen, you struggle with attention to detail this early in the season. Sometimes it takes your kids until January or February to figure it out. When you're relying on those freshmen to do the majority of everything, it could be a recipe for disaster this time of year. And for Rutgers, it was a recipe for disaster yesterday. And this week, if they don't beat Notre Dame, there's a very real possibility, Rob, that they leave Las Vegas without a win in Las Vegas. And if that happens, then it could spell disaster because the team's psyche comes into question.
Yep. I just look, you go on the road. Kennesaw State's a good team. There's talent on that roster. They're playing a home game. Ace Bailey's probably a little bit distracted because he's going home. That's why you're playing that game. And
he's from Chattanooga, by the way. Tennessee kid.
Didn't he? He went to high school in
he went to high school in
He went to high school at McEachern.
Are you claiming him?
I am. Chattanooga kid. I'm claiming him.
But Rob, they better win tomorrow. They have
to. I don't know if they're going to. I just we'll see.
By the way, Elon's not bad.
Elon can go, and they almost beat North Carolina in Chapel Hill the first day of the season.
Hey, you want to know how much NIL money Elon has?
Tell me.
I'm not a
better
dime.
show up, enjoy playing.
They don't have a dollar.
As Jim Calhoun would say, not a dime. Not a dime.
Are you referring to Coach Calhoun today? Now, why would you be referring to Jim Calhoun today?
What a segue, Fanta. That's why you're the pro. We got the Maui Invitational coming up. All right, I'm gonna I want you guys both let's roll through this quickly, but I want you guys to both give me takes on this before we do. BetMGM has odds up on you can bet on the winner of the Maui right now. UConn is plus 155, Auburn is plus 300, North Carolina and Iowa State are both plus 450. Memphis is plus 3,000. I kind of think Memphis odds are like really good here. Like that's Memphis odds are where I would want to be, and then I would stay away from
fake. You're such a fake homer. Like you just go backwards against everything you come.
Do you know how
unbelievable?
Wait, you're taking Memphis in this game plus 8?
No, I'm not. But 30-1 odds on them being able to win the Maui Invitational.
Oh, come on,
man!
Insane.
Come on,
insane.
Man.
We don't know what UConn is yet, and then the second round would be against Colorado or Michigan State. Like,
come on, man!
It's a cakewalk.
Come on,
Auburn and Iowa State both have to beat 2 top 10 teams to get to the finals. If Auburn's going to win this, Auburn's probably going to have to beat 3 top 10 teams.
You can't
think about
be
that's
Are you serious?
Come on. I think I'm not that worried about it. I do think this will be an interesting test, the first round game. So the way it's set up, Memphis, UConn at 2:30, Colorado, Michigan State at 5, Auburn, Iowa State at 9 o'clock. These are all Eastern time, by the way, the only legitimate time zone. And then Dayton, North Carolina tonight at 11:30 p.m., the nightcap. Obviously, Auburn, Iowa State is the game of the day. Top 5 battle in the quarterfinals. In the quarterfinals of the Maui Invitational, which is the way that God wanted it, right?
Purdue Gonzaga last year.
Yep, it's the way that he wanted. It's the reason why
not allowed to play in it.
Next year
they'll be back next year because a lot of these MTs are going away because teams are going towards events where they get paid for NIL money, which is a whole different conversation we're not going to dive into right now. Memphis, UConn. I think this is a good test for UConn. They should be able to win it, but Memphis is a tough team. They're going to press.
Talented.
They have perimeter defenders that are going to make it really hard for UConn's guards to be able to run offense. That's one part of the issue. The other part of the issue is that Dane Danger draws like 5 or 6 fouls a game, and UConn's front court has been incredibly foul prone against sub 300 teams, as T.O. would call it, non-Division I opponents. So I think this is going to be a really, really good test. I think UConn should win. How they win and how dominant it is, I think will say a lot about what UConn is going to be this season. Because I think Memphis I think they're better than people gave them credit for. We all thought it was going to be a disaster for Memphis this year, and it's definitively not a disaster. They've won at Ohio, they won at UNLV, they won at San Francisco. Those are both quad 1 wins that they've landed already.
Yep.
Look, Memphis should be a tournament team. They should win the American. And PJ Haggerty is one of the best buckets in the country. He's a dynamic scorer who's shooting 50% from 3, 49% from the floor, 23 points per game. Now, we're talking about how Memphis is going to guard UConn. Let me flip it for a moment. UConn guards. And I guarantee you, Luke Murray on this scout is saying, we are going to take away PJ Haggerty. We're going to make his life a nightmare. We're going to do what we did against Illinois guards last year, and we're going to guard. Now, the question is, can they? Well, we don't have a great gauge yet because of the first 4 opponents that they've had. Their offense, UConn's offense, is actually behind their defense at this time. By the way, I got the answer on the DePaul question. It's a lot more recent than you think. I know. I was wrong. It's
December 14th, 2022. They were top 100.
Which is really interesting there for a variety of reasons.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. Thank you for the answer there. Look, for Memphis to have a chance in this game, they have to hit at least 10 threes. They have to shoot the basketball quite well. Because I don't think that, everyone's talking about Samson Johnson's foul trouble. And I agree. It's been a problem. This actually might be a game for Terrace Reed going up against Danger. Terrace Reed's not fazed by Dane Danger. He's faced him before, right? He's faced him before. For Connecticut, what this game comes down to for me is, assuming that Mahaney is still not himself, Hassan Diarra has to be that steadying presence. Solo Ball and Jaden Ross, one of them has to deliver a really strong game. And then Caravan and McNeely, the Maui Rim should really agree with their shot making. I think McNeely could end up being the X factor to this particular game, this particular matchup, because I think he's an X factor anytime UConn steps on the floor. And I think when you're Memphis, Caravan and his ability to make shots. Diarra at the point of this. But the guy who unlocks, the two guys who I think unlock something in this UConn team are Liam McNeely and Jaden Ross. And if one of those guys is humming, UConn's going to win this basketball game. Here's the final stat I would use. And I would tell anybody out there that's thinking about like starting their feast week with Memphis. And if you want to start your feast week with Memphis, that's fine with the line and whatnot. Connecticut is 37-1 in their last 38 non-conference games. NCAA tournament, regular season, whatever you want to say. All 37 wins have come by double digits.
Yep. The one other note that I would just make, Aiden Mahaney has not looked like the guy that UConn thought they were going to get when he committed, but he also has one turnover this season, and his turnover rate historically is really good. And I think that being able to avoid turnovers and just get UConn into their sets is kind of going to be the key to be able to beat this Memphis team.
He's been fine. He's been fine. He just, he's not going to average 20 points a game playing for UConn. You're just not gonna.
It's going to take him some time. He's adjusting to the standard that is. It's the same thing that happened with Tristan Newton at the start of his career. If you remember, there was a time like, remember January 2023 when everybody was like, yeah, Tristan's going to be transferring at the end of the year. Like it did not look like it was going to work. Then he was the most outstanding player, the 19 and 10 in the title game in 2023, first team All-American 2024. Now he's a UConn legend, back-to-back titles. So I think it's going to be a learning process with Aiden. So we'll see if he can end up getting there. T.O., give me 30 seconds on that Auburn-Iowa State matchup and what you think the key is.
The key is who's going to be able to score over the other defense and the two top 5 defenses in college basketball. That's what it's going to come down to. Can you manufacture enough scoring over the top? That's going to be hard because I think you look at both of these rosters, big guards and really good bigs. And I think Josh Jefferson's been a quality addition for Iowa State. Both teams very, very good. Auburn has a little bit more offense.
Have you ever seen that viral video of like the rugby basketball game?
The Russians, yeah, where they're half. It's what's his name, Khabib, and them. They just pick each other up and just slam each other. Yep, that's what this game's going to be.
That's what it's going to be, and it's going to be awesome, and I can't wait. Give me a prediction on the winner, then we'll go real quick for the battle for Atlantis and get out of here.
Auburn wins. Auburn wins that game for the whole tournament. I think UConn ends up getting it because the other teams are going to be tired by the time everything's said and done.
Connecticut wins the Maui Invitational. Iowa State knocks off Auburn tonight, puts together an elite defensive performance. Tamin Lipsey shows why he is one of the most underappreciated players in the game. Keyshawn Gilbert and Curtis Jones do enough. Curtis Jones hits some big threes. Joshua Jefferson has a breakout performance. The St. Mary's transfer. TJ Otzelberger just finds a way in these MTs. Remember a couple years ago when he shocked everybody at the PK event? I like Iowa State in that game, but I think the winner of this all-out war, I worry about them then in the winner's bracket. I'm going to go out on a limb, do a little different here. UConn, Carolina, Maui final, but Connecticut wins, and they take the Maui championship. But I think Carolina shows us something here this week.
I think they do too. I think they shoot the crap out of the ball while they're down there. And they just played Hawaii too, so they're a little bit more adjusted to the time.
Yeah, I think if Iowa State wins, it's a better matchup for North Carolina than Auburn. I just don't want to think about what Janai Broome would do against that North Carolina front line. I think UConn is probably rightfully the favorite. I think Auburn has a very real chance to win it. And if you want to bet Auburn to win it at BetMGM, don't take the plus 300 on the future. Bet their money line for each of the 3 games and just roll it over. So if you bet
we need to do something for the Final Four for the first weekend with BetMGM. That'd be fun if we could do that again.
Yes, we will do that again.
Wait, so tell me the strategy.
So instead of betting them to win the whole, like to the plus 300, if you're going to bet $20 on them to bet $20 on their money line against Iowa State, then take that winnings and bet that entire winnings on money line against North Carolina, then take that entire winnings and bet that on the money line in the championship game, and you'll end up with more winnings for the same amount of money
wow.
risked.
Look at you.
Is the way that I would do it. All right, battle for Atlantis. Gonzaga against West Virginia is the 2:30 game on Wednesday. Interesting matchup there. Providence and Oklahoma is a game between two teams that really, really badly need a win. Bryce Hopkins is going to be back, which is really good for Friar Nation. And Arizona taking on Davidson in the nightcap out there in Atlantis. But the game that I have circled and I think is arguably the most intriguing game in all of first round and feast week is Louisville against Indiana in a game that I think
your ass it is
badly needs to win, T.O.
Yeah. Do they badly need to win? Not just for Louisville, but for the entire Atlantic Coast Conference. It has not been a banner week for the ACC. And I've been like plugging away, like, hey, guys, we need a couple of wins. Can't seem to get the big wins outside of Duke and North Carolina. So can they step up, get a big win here? It's going to be huge. What an opportunity, though, because it doesn't matter who you play in this tournament. It's going to be a good one. And every game is going to have value, probably except for Davidson.
Well, I agree. I think that Louisville, Indiana is really interesting for a variety of reasons. Number one, Indiana, how much have the early performances and sometimes the lack of effort been because they're getting a little bit lazy and tired of facing competition that's down? How much of that is, something more? I think that Miles Rice, Louisville's got to apply ball pressure on Rice. They cannot let Miles Rice dictate the way the game is played. And then I think it's really important for Louisville, what do they do on the glass in this game against Indiana's bigs? Because if Umar Ballo and Malik Renew are going to dictate the front court in this game, Indiana is going to win this game. And they could win this game by, 10 to 15 points if Louisville's not careful. So what does Louisville have to do? Expose Indiana's weakness. Beat them from beyond the arc.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Louisville's got to make this a 3-point contest, and they've got to be able to knock down open looks. Chucky Hepburn's got to play a big-time game. Kason Pryor's got to be, he's got to play a major role in this game. Your backcourt pieces that you've brought in, Pat Kelsey might have to decide with 15 minutes to go in the game who his best five are on the floor and ride them to the finish line. It's a problem that coaches are encountering right now. I thought Rick Pitino encountered that problem this past weekend. That you portal heavy, but you got to decide who your best five are to win the ball game. So it's a huge game. The winner, it's house money. Neither of those two teams are beating Gonzaga for my money. And I don't think anybody beats Gonzaga in this event. I like the Zaga.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, Fana, is like we can sit here and we can talk about whatever we want in this event. My hot take is that at the end of Feast Week, the day after Thanksgiving, that Friday, we're all going to be sitting here saying, yeah, you know what? Gonzaga is the best team in college basketball because I think that they roll this tournament. I think that they win each of these games by double figures, and I don't think that it's much of a conversation.
X factor to the tournament on the other side of the bracket. These will be Providence home games.
Yeah, they will. Yeah, they will.
That place will be rocking.
Dude, I can't imagine going from the blackjack tables where you get free drinks at Atlantis straight to the ballroom, which is all of about a 5-minute walk for Providence fans. It's going to be a clear situation. I'm fired up to see that. I'm really interested to see how Bryce Hopkins does, because throwing him into the mix in a ballroom in the Bahamas for first game back is a lot.
Are you going?
No, I'm not going. I have Hornets all week. We have 4 games in the next 5 days. So I'm not going to be able to go, but it really intrigued to see how that goes. I think Gonzaga wins this thing. I think Indiana Louisville might be the game of the tournament, though. I think that's going to be a fun one.
Yep, I think you're right. Listen, guys, are we all on Gonzaga? Is that who we're all picking Gonzaga here?
Yeah, right. We're all on Gonzaga. Happy week.
Yeah, Gonzaga versus Providence in the final.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. There you go.
Wow.
All right. Listen, guys, this has been fun. Enjoy your Thanksgivings. Enjoy the time with your family. Enjoy the turkey. Enjoy the pie. Enjoy the sides. Enjoy the stuffing. Enjoy it all. I know that I'm going to, and hopefully I'll be able to find a way to kick this illness by the time we get to Thanksgiving so I can actually taste this delicious food. For John Fanta, for Terrence Oglesby, my name is Rob Doster. We will see you guys again next Monday. Football season is back in full swing. I need to remind you guys about our partners over at Autograph, where the real college hoops fans reside. The Autograph app curates all of the best content for every sports fan and every sports fan's favorite team. Podcasts, blogs, analysis. It's all there without the nonsense from the talking heads that don't actually watch the games. And there's a bonus. Consuming content on the Autograph app earns you coins that can be redeemed for rewards for things like no-fee tickets or signed jerseys from your favorite players. There are a couple new features in the app that I need to let you guys know about as well. Autograph Replay gives you a quick-hitting summary of the previous day's news so you can keep track of all the important things going on with your favorite teams. And Autograph Rooms allows you to chat in real time with the true voices of fandom within your team's community. So go to the link in the description or scan that QR code on your screen and download the Autograph app